Day 3,000, I looked at the Nova Hair Complex, have not seen white smoke yet. No offensive coordinator in place.
Is that what they're going to do? Howie's going
to
get the smoke going when they find somebody?
I hope so.
Yeah. It's been 2.5 weeks now, and here we go. And I wonder how many people would have to turn him down before they say, Kevin, you know what? We're just going to keep you around for another year, see how it goes.
I asked you that on the last podcast. You said there's not enough people in the world, I think, to make that happen. But yeah, here we are. Still no offensive coordinator. Hopefully soon we'll get some news about that. So we have some updates on the OC search on this podcast, the Eagle Eye podcast, by the way, brought to you by Nissan, Reuben Frank, and Dave Zangaro. So we have a bunch of offensive coordinator updates. We'll get to some from this team, some from around the league that matter. You have a list of the most disappointing players from the 2025 season. That should be, I don't know if fun is the right word, but that should be part of the show, is going through that list today. A little bit later on, we have some questions from our listeners we want to get to. But first, how you doing, Rube?
I'm doing well. Glad the snow is behind us. And the forecast, I got a text from somebody, I think on like Monday morning saying, we're getting another 20 inches next weekend. And I was just hoping against hope that this storm would take an easterly turn over the ocean, which it has done. So I think we'll be okay this weekend. I don't think
that's a beautiful thing.
Couldn't handle another blizzard.
I think I told you I got done shoveling the other day, and I got a text as soon as I got back in from a friend who said, we're getting more this weekend. And I said, not now. Just not right now. I can't deal with that.
Yeah, I think we're okay, though, this time.
All right, so let's get to the latest on this offensive coordinator search. Through various reports, we've learned that at least 3 of the candidates for this offensive coordinator job have gotten second interviews. And it seems like the way the Eagles have handled this is their first interviews have been virtual, most likely through Zoom, and now their second interviews are in person. So the 3 candidates we know they've interviewed in person, in no particular order here, I don't think: Sean Mannion, Jim Bob Cooter, and Josh Grizzard.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, it's fallen off a little bit from when we started this thing, and we're talking about Mike McDaniel, Brian Daboll, and Cliff Kingsbury. Like those names have a little more cachet to them than, Josh Grizzard, Jim Bob Cooter, and Sean Mannion.
Yeah, when you have to go onto Wikipedia and just figure out where this guy's been, you don't know much about him. That's never a great sign. Maybe it says more about me than the candidate. But yeah, I think we're down to guys that have big question marks. Now, getting a guy that's not, didn't start out as a top candidate, as a reported top candidate, maybe that doesn't have a great history, doesn't mean he's not going to be a great hire. And, we've certainly seen that over the years. Like I said, I think in the last pod, Andy Reid was like the Eagles' 6th choice in '99. That turned out really well. Doug Peterson was not close to being their first choice. Nick Sirianni, nobody had heard of, certainly when they hired him. Shane Steichen is the same thing. We just knew he was with Nick in Indy, and that turned out great. So I wouldn't dismiss a guy just because he may not have the resume we're looking for or that fans are looking for. But from the big picture, when you step back, it is discouraging that they've been spurned by so many people.
Yeah, I don't even know if spurned is the right word, but I think we heard the quality of name early on in this search, and I think it got people pretty excited that they were going to land one of those big names. And yeah, it looks like that's not going to be the case. I think if it ends up being any of these 3, it's probably going to feel a little underwhelming, right? And it doesn't mean that it's not going to work. And I think that's important to remember. Like, we're not going to know until we actually see the product on the field. But of these 3, and we can spend some time going through their resumes, who they are. Any of these 3 in particular, like, stand out to you that you would put above the other 2, just in terms of who you would want to hire if you were the Eagles?
Yeah, I would say Sean Mannion, almost by default, because I certainly don't feel strongly about the other 2. I think he's a pretty sharp guy. Did a lot of reading on him. He's been around some great coaches and great quarterbacks. He played in the league for quite a while as a backup, but was around some really good quarterbacks during that time, including Jared Goff, who he backed up with the Rams. He's a Shanahan tree guy, a McVay tree guy, which are kind of the same thing now the way it is. So and just the way Matt Fleur spoke so highly about him on a number of occasions. The story about how he was on the phone with him just before he interviewed with the Bears. And he asked him what he was going to present to the Bears. And Sean Mannion ran through the whole plan and the whole program. He said, "That's really good. Why don't you come here, interview with us when you're done?"
Mm-hmm.
And he said, "I can't believe they let him out of the building." Matt LaFleur is a guy whose opinion I really hold in high regard because he's been so successful over such a period of years. Not against the Eagles, but against most of the league. So I think he'd be at the top on my list. I'm really intrigued by what people have said about him. The resume isn't overwhelming. I mean, he was just playing in the league as a backup 2 years ago. So there's not a lot there. But out of these candidates, he's the one guy I would feel pretty good about.
How do you weigh? So he's played under a lot of great coaches. How do you weigh playing under a great coach versus coaching under a great coach? Like, is it fair to say, hey, he played under Sean McVay and he played under Kevin O'Connell, and is that fair to do? Even as like a backup quarterback, I kind of feel like it is.
Yeah, I think so. And this is a kid who, and he's a kid who the coaches he's been around say he was like a coach when he was a player. And, you picture a guy who's in meetings with the coaches, like an assistant coach. A lot of backup quarterbacks have some responsibilities as far as preparing for the next opponent and doing some scouting and stuff. And it sounds like he's that kind of guy. So, I think there's great value in both those things. It doesn't mean anyone's a slam dunk. It doesn't guarantee anything. I mean, gosh, Doug Peterson, he was around Dan Marino and Bernie Kosar and a lot of great Donovan McNabb. Didn't make him a better quarterback, but maybe it helped make him a better coach.
Yeah, Brett Favre throwing.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a fair point, and you're right. Everything you hear about Mannion, he's one of those backup quarterbacks who's kind of been preparing to be a coach for like a good period of his NFL career. He is young. You mentioned that he's 33 years old, and he's really inexperienced. So if you're not including the time he spent as a backup quarterback, it's 2 years as a coach in this league. One of them was as an offensive assistant in 2024, and then he got promoted in 2025 to quarterbacks coach, and that's it. I mean, that's his only coaching experience. He is extremely green. That is a risk. Like, that is an absolute risk. And now you could be about to hire the next great coach in the NFL. I think that's possible, but I think there's a concern there as well. And not just, I think there's a concern that maybe he's not ready for this job, but I also think there's a concern that, maybe the coaching staff that's here doesn't trust him as much. Maybe the quarterback and the players in the building aren't willing to listen to him as much because he is so young.
Yeah, those are all real concerns. And I think any young coach has to come in and really win guys over and, win Jalen over, win, the receivers, the backs over, and the other offensive coaches. But if he's as sharp and as prepared as certainly Matt LaFleur says he is, then he should be able to pull that off. And, I think players just want to know that they're not playing for a fraud. And we've seen that, and we know what that's like. And you hear about it in the locker room. So, that's the big challenge, is coming in as a young, unproven guy and proving that you got you have your chops, your football acumen, that ball, as they say these days. And you would have to do that. But
I agree. You got to prove yourself to the people in the building if you're that guy coming in. Honestly, any of these three would. It's not like you're bringing in if Mike McDaniel walks in the building, he has a track record of success. We've seen his offense on the big stage. Like, these guys, any three of them, Mannion especially, though, they have to prove themselves when they get here.
Yeah, no doubt. But I do think it's true of every coach, even veteran coaches. I mean, all the so-called top candidates like McDaniel and Dable and Stefanski, none of them had good offenses the last couple of years. So, it's not like these guys are infallible. And, the longer you've been doing it, the more chance, you have. I mean, every head coach that gets fired for a reason. When an offensive coach gets fired, you look at his offense and, all right, it wasn't that great the last couple of years or longer. So I think every coach has to do that to an extent, but certainly for younger coaches, less experienced coaches, it's probably more of a prove it process.
Yeah. You want to go through the other two guys, and we'll kind of just mention who they are. Jim Bob Cooter, 41 years old, has spent the last 3 seasons as the offensive coordinator in Indianapolis under Shane Steichen, which means he's not calling plays there, but he has called plays before in his career. He was the offensive coordinator in Detroit when Matthew Stafford was there before, the quarterbacks coach there. And he's been here. He was here in 2021 under Nick Sirianni. He was an offensive consultant that year. So there is a track record. There's some familiarity, which, depending on who you ask, is a good thing or a bad thing.
I'm starting to think it's not a great thing. I mean, Kevin Patullo was here for 4 years before he got this job. And you brought up a really important question when we were talking on Slack the other day. Like, when we're in an interview, do we call him Jim or Jim Bob? Like,
I don't know.
Hey, Jim Bob, you have a second? Jim Bob, your third down success so far.
JBC, I think we go with.
I never really got used to calling Gannon JG. He liked JG.
I did. I call people what they want to be called.
Yeah.
But some people will call Kevin Patullo KP.
To me, that means kitchen patrol. That's like military for kitchen patrol.
Okay.
You're on KP tonight. I think we used that in camp when I worked at a camp in New Hampshire one summer. But
do you use your initials a lot?
No.
RF?
Not really.
No. I use my initials quite a bit.
Yeah.
I have a Z. A Z is rare. It's a unique letter.
Good Scrabble letter.
Mm-hmm.
Get it on a triple letter score going both directions with like an A at the end of it.
Yeah.
Okay, stuff like 65 points. That's
you get pizza on a triple word? Yeah.
Well, you would need a blank and a Z or 2 blanks, and the blanks aren't worth any points. So, but anyway, yeah, I don't use my. I think the fact that people call me Rube makes my initials kind of renders them.
That's true. You're just Rube. I get DZ a lot.
I get DZ when I'm like on an airplane with turbulence. Like that great song by Tommy Rowe, DZ. I'm so DZ, my head is spinning. What was the question? Jim Bob Cooter. Yeah, I'm not in love with I can circle back when I have to. I'm not in love with the Colts connections, honestly. And to me, that's more the same. And he was there with Gannon and with Sirianni and Jason Michael and Shane Steichen and Kevin Patullo. So it doesn't mean you can't get a good coach from that, but I just think they need fresh ideas. They need new ideas. They don't need to go backwards. To me, hiring somebody off that tree is going backwards.
Well, I mean, he wasn't there with he didn't coach under Frank Reich in Indianapolis with all those guys. So he's not like, and like, to play devil's advocate, because I understand what you're saying. Like, sometimes the familiarity isn't a good thing. He was in Detroit. You know what I mean? Like, he was off on his own, coaching in Detroit, coaching Matthew Stafford, who seems to really like him. He was the quarterbacks coach there, then worked his way up to offensive coordinator. So it's probably a little too reductive to say that he's just like from that tree, but I get your point that like it's we're talking about after the season how they need to do different things, and then to bring in a guy who was here in 2021 and the guy who's been with Shane now for 3 years in Indianapolis. Yeah, it would be a tough sell. It doesn't mean it wouldn't work.
No, exactly. And, certainly spending time with Shane is, to me, that's a positive because he's probably the best play caller I've ever seen. I've been around. Doug in 17 might have been the best for 1 year, but it doesn't disqualify you. But it's not the direction I would go. It's not the direction I would like to see them go.
So this is a serious question. It might not sound that way. Shane Steichen, by all accounts, was like really excited about Kevin Patullo getting that job. He had spent a lot of time around Patullo as well. He gave him the vote of confidence. Does it in any way like decrease the importance you place in that vote of confidence if it comes with Jim Bob Cooter as well?
It's an interesting question. So do you trust Shane any less because of his recommendation?
I don't know the answer to that. And I don't know. But like in general, I think you should trust Shane. Like he's a really smart guy. He was excellent at this. He knows offensive football. He liked Jim Bob enough after being with him for 1 year in 2021 to then bring him to Indianapolis with him. When Jim Bob wasn't here in 22, he was actually with Doug Peterson in Jacksonville. But he liked him enough to bring him to Indy with him.
Yeah. I wouldn't disqualify his opinion because of that. I mean, what are the odds he's wrong twice in a row? I would still trust his judgment from what I know of Shane. Yeah. But okay. He was obviously wrong once.
And then to throw a little wrench in this whole thing, the Giants are going to interview Jim Bob Cooter for their offensive coordinator job, which is now vacant because Todd Monken ends up getting the head coaching job in Cleveland. And we'll talk about that in a little bit because I want to get your take on the Jim Schwartz angle of that. But Todd Monken gets the head coaching job in Cleveland, which means he will not be the offensive coordinator in New York, which means now John Harbaugh and the Giants are looking for an offensive coordinator, and now they're dipping into the candidate pool at one of the guys the Eagles are interested in.
Yeah, honestly, if the Eagles lost Jim Bob to Harbs, I would not be disappointed. I just don't think he's the strongest candidate out there.
Okay. Let's get to Josh Grizzard then. 35 years old, was the offensive coordinator in Tampa this past season, 2025, got fired after the year. 2024, when the Bucs were much better offensively, he was the passing game coordinator, and then he got promoted. Was with the Dolphins for like 7 years before that. The last two of those worked under Mike McDaniel. Before that, at the college level, he coached at Duke.
Yeah, well, you know how I feel about Duke. Hate Duke, mainly basketball, but yeah, there's nothing really in his resume that jumps out at you. Only lasted 2 years with Todd Bowles down there. Had one good year. Their offense. They fell apart this year. It's hard to kind of, guys.
They got off to such a hot start. I mean, Baker was maybe the MVP through 7-8 weeks.
Yeah, they did. And then really fell to pieces. It's hard because you kind of like, well, he was offensive coordinator, so you kind of put all this stock in that, or he was quarterback's coach, or he was passing game. How did their passing game do? I'm not sure that's the best way to evaluate these guys. I don't know if you can kind of break it down in that detail. But it's kind of sometimes it's all you have to go on. But there's nothing really about Josh Grizzard that jumps out and says, hire me when I look at his resume.
Yeah. I kind of agree with that point on all three of these guys, which is like an important reminder that we are at such an immense information deficit when it comes to these interviews, and everyone is, because they're going to hire this guy based on what he presents in an interview, his vision of this offense with these players, how he sees offensive football. And all we have to go on is the resume and the track record, which that should be taken into account. Certainly. Like, I think that's what gets you in the door for these interviews, but they're hiring them based on what they hear in these interviews. We have no idea what these guys are saying. So
Howie hasn't been texting you and keeping you apprised of how all the interviews are
I have not gotten all the details of these interviews. So it's like, and it's true for any hiring process, is like, we're going to react based on what we know about these candidates. And what we know is what everyone else knows, what we've seen, what we've heard, maybe. So we maybe get a little bit more information based on, the reputation of that player. But they're going to make the hire based on what they hear in these interviews, and we just don't know what these guys are saying.
We don't, but we do know that if they're getting a second interview, then they did well in the first interview. I mean, we can assume that. Like you said, the first interviews have tended to be virtual. The second interviews have been in person, which I think it's a big difference. I really do. The StreamYard or the Zoom stuff it's really hard to get inside the guy's head. I think sometimes in this method, but yeah, I mean, the fact that they're getting second interviews tells you. I mean, I don't want to say that they're finalists, but they kind of are. I mean, if you're getting 2 interviews, you're a serious candidate now.
Yeah, and look, we don't know if anyone else has gotten a second interview, but to me, it points to being a finalist. Like, we're hearing these guys get through to the next level of the interview process. So I think it's certainly notable.
Yeah. Do you have, out of those 3, is there anybody you'd feel most comfortable with?
I don't know if comfortable is the word. I think I like the swing. I feel like I like the big swing of going after Sean Mannion, and based on like hearing people in Green Bay kind of grumble at the thought of losing him, to me matters too. Like, sometimes I pay attention to that stuff. Like, what is that fan base? What are those other coaches, those players saying about potentially losing this guy? It's kind of funny. Like, you think back to, Jonathan Gannon gets hired away. There weren't a lot of people here that were like really super upset about that. It seems like
had more to do with how it ended than, I mean, because I think he was up until halftime of the Super Bowl. I mean, I don't know if he was beloved, but I don't think he was.
I don't think people would have been broken up if he got hired away.
Yeah.
Even before the Super Bowl.
Like, on social media, certainly I was reading about Jared Johnson, and like nobody would be real broken up if he left. And then you see
Gerard Johnson down in Houston. Yeah.
Yeah. And you see other candidates, like I saw a bunch of but I mean, I don't know if social media is a really fair way to judge how fans feel anyway, but it is funny when all the fans are just like, yeah, go ahead, take him. That tells you something. Yeah,
but like, it seems like they'd be upset if Mannion left. And look, that's a big swing. Part of me wonders is like, can you hire 2 of these guys? Can you have an option here? Like, can you bring in Matt Nagy on top of one of these guys as like an offensive analyst and just like have them in glass in case of emergency? Is that a way to do this? I would look into something. I'm serious. I would have some sort of an option like that, because like I heard Adam Schefter on ESPN talking about, well, if it all goes bad, Nick Sirianni can call the offense, and I'm going, no, he can't. No, you don't want that.
Yeah, I also think that puts the OC in a tough position. This guy's going to be, is he looking over his shoulder? Is he questioning what he's doing? Those 2 would have to be on the same page in every way for that to work. Because I think if you feel strongly enough to hire this guy as your offensive coordinator, you should kind of let him do the job.
You just sink or swim with him.
I think that might make the most sense.
Yeah. So you like Mannion the most out of these 3?
Yeah.
And part of that is just honestly the unknown. He hasn't been given a chance to fail yet.
True. Yeah. Yeah. I think out of those 3, he makes the most sense.
Okay. You can. How would you rank them, 1 through 3?
I'd probably have Jim Bob second.
I would too, because at least he has the time in Detroit. Like, that matters to me. That was experience. I think that was like solid experience. I don't think he wasn't the best in the world there, but I thought he did some good things there.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Okay. Yeah. So to be continued, as always, with this offensive coordinator search. Any idea? Like, do you have any sense of when the heck they're going to hire somebody? Because it feels like every day I wake up and go, maybe today's the day.
No. Sometime this year.
It feels like they're not in a hurry.
Well, they shouldn't be. And I know a lot of people are impatient and why don't they hire somebody? I mean, I'd rather you take your time, you kind of exhaust all the options, and really, look at these guys in depth. They're still. You only need one. It's so you only need to nail one decision, and I think there's still good candidates out there. And I'd rather they get it right than they get it sooner.
Yeah. Alex points out that Kellen Moore was hired on February 5th. That's true. So, take your time, I guess. And they're going to definitely take their time here.
Yeah. Well, they already have.
That's true. I want to circle back to the Browns situation with them hiring Todd Monken. All the reports say Jim Schwartz pretty unhappy, left the building, telling people he's not coming back. I believe him.
We've been around Jim Schwartz when he's been pissed.
Yeah. He is someone who I know he's under contract. I know they might want him back as their DC. They're going to have to try to mend fences. I don't know if that's going to work.
Yeah. And he's done such a great job with that defense. I know Myles Garrett loves the guy. I think we're both fans of Jim as a coach and a person. I always liked Jim. I think he did a tremendous job when he was here. And he's done a great job really every step of his career. And I think he kind of earned a little more consideration. He apparently thought he was going to get the head job in Cleveland. He's really enjoyed his time there. I mean, gosh, he coached Myles Garrett to the greatest season Edge has ever had, I guess, as far as sacks go. So I don't blame him for being upset about it. It sounds like the franchise might have given him the sense that he was going to be the guy. I think he thought he was.
Yeah, it seems like he thought he was, and from the outside, it looked like it was going to be him or Nate Shieldhouse. Like they were either going to go for the guy who earned the job or the guy that was like the big swing, could be there for a long time, was the next great NFL coach. The Monken thing seems kind of like out of the blue. I know he was in consideration, so it shouldn't be too shocking, but I was surprised. And part of me wonders if they thought, hey, let's hire Monken and we're going to keep Jim Schwartz anyway, and we have both of them. And it looks like maybe that blew up in their face.
Yeah, and Jim his track record in his one stint as a head coach wasn't great. It was pretty terrible. I think he's probably best suited to being a DC. But if
he acts like a head coach when he's a DC, though.
He does. We have such a history of Eagles offensive coaches not telling us anything and defensive coaches or coordinators telling us everything. But yeah, I think if you're the Browns, you don't want a disgruntled guy running your defense. You don't want a guy who's unhappy. So they're going to have to figure something out. And I'm sure there's teams out there that would love Jim Schwartz on their staff.
Yeah, maybe they can trade him.
That's what I suggested yesterday. I mean, get a pick for him. They might have to.
And you suggested that, and I thought, I think he's proud. I don't think if they don't let him out of that contract, I don't think he's coaching there. So
maybe he can coach Slay like just on his own somewhere. The two guys who don't want to be with the team
exiled. Yeah. I've heard people suggest San Francisco for him. I think that would be a really good fit because they have a really strong head coach anyway. So you'd bring him in there. I don't think he's going to be able to make a power play in San Francisco. Maybe that works. I think there's going to be options for him.
But I also don't think the Browns are just going to say, all right, go ahead, just go work wherever you want. I think there's going to have to be some sort of compensation if he's not in Cleveland.
I don't know. But I feel like you owe it to the guy to let him out of the contract after you pass him up for a head coaching job.
Yeah, I mean, it would be nice, but they don't have to. So we'll see how they handle it. It's the Browns. They don't really handle things well.
Yeah, it didn't seem like they handled this well.
Yeah.
Real quick before we get to a break, our buddy Patrick Johnson might play in the Super Bowl.
I love this story.
This is very cool. So Patrick Johnson, who began this season on the Eagles practice squad, was elevated in week 1, then signed to the active roster, spent some time on the active roster this year, then ends up back on the practice squad. Had his first career sack, finishes the season on the practice squad, which means that his contract officially ran out on January 19th. It was a little curious. The Eagles did not sign him to a futures deal. Maybe it's because he knew this was coming down. The Patriots signed him to their practice squad yesterday.
Yeah, and he'll be eligible to play in the Super Bowl. And the fun thing about it is last year he played one game for the Eagles, the Brazil game against the Packers, and then they tried to sneak him through waivers. It didn't go well, and the Giants claimed him, and he spent the rest of the year with the Giants. He got a Super Bowl ring playing one game for the Eagles. Now he might get another Super Bowl ring playing one game for the Patriots. He could play 2 games for the teams that won the Super Bowl and get 2 Super Bowl rings.
Be pretty cool. Do you remember why the Eagles cut him last year and they ended up losing him?
I know I just looked it up and I knew it. It was
it was Nick Gates.
Was it Nick Gates?
Am I wrong about that?
Could be right.
I think it was a Nick Gates related thing.
I do know Christian Ellis was Shaq Leonard.
Yeah.
That's the guy they were trying to get on the roster. Christian Ellis is playing. He's having a heck of a postseason. He's now Patrick Johnson's teammate.
A few former Eagles on that Patriots team.
Yeah, Matt Collins doing the Warriors coming into the building.
Man, that was so strange.
Mac is the best. I love Mac. He had a big game, had 2 big catches, had that big 31-yarder on the left sideline.
Yeah, the Eagles signed Nick Gates to the active roster the same day they waived Patrick Johnson, September 16th last year.
I'm so happy for Matt Collins. I'm changing the subject here, but he's always been one of my favorite guys, and he's like the most improbable guy to have like a career resurgence like he has. I mean, he didn't do anything when he was here. I mean, he was so bad.
We knew he had some talent, though.
We did.
Yeah,
we did.
And we knew he had an eclectic personality that I'm glad he's able to showcase now.
Yeah, that's fair. We knew. Remember when I think it was at the Eagles Autism Challenge. I finally got to talk to him after like a year and a half. He'd been hurt. We never saw him for like a year and a half, and there he rides up on his bicycle to the finish line. Hey, Mac. Hey, Rue, what's up?
He used to ride his bike to work all the time. Does not wear shoes anywhere now. He is shoeless except to play football.
Him and Joe Jackson. Visek Ahima once told me he didn't wear shoes till he was 12, growing up in Tonga. Never had shoes. So we could do a top 10 list.
Guys without shoes?
Shoeless athletes. Joe Jackson, Matt Collins, and Visek Ahima. We have those so far.
Jordan Mailata in pregame warmups.
That's fair. Yeah. But
we're probably going to have to stretch to get to 10. So I figure that's a good way to start.
I think, but yeah, so getting back to Patrick Johnson, he's a guy who, and he felt really, I don't want to say betrayed is probably too strong a word, but he was really upset when he got cut. He wanted to be here all year. You go to the Giants, watch your old team win a Super Bowl. That's got to be tough.
Yeah.
But good second opportunity for him. He's pretty good special teamer.
Yeah, excellent special teamer. Ended up playing a ton of special team snaps over really his whole career. He was a 7th round pick in 2021.
Yeah.
He's really built his career being a special teamer.
Yeah, and he's vested now, which is good. I mean, because a guy like that, you never know if you're going to have a job the next year. So he'll probably end up back here in training camp.
Yeah, I would think so.
He always does.
All right, let's take a break. When we come back, we're going to count down the 10 most disappointing players from the Eagles team in 2025.
You deserve a car that thrills you, a car that puts goosebumps on your goosebumps. At Nissan, we've got everything from turbocharged SUVs to 100% electric vehicles that'll make your heart beat faster. Experience the thrill for yourself and shop your local Nissan store and nissanusa.com today.
Escape the cold and catch the Phillies in Clearwater with NBC Sports Philadelphia and Philly Sports Trips. We're teaming up to bring fans the most unforgettable Phillies spring training experience yet. The trip includes Phillies game tickets, beachfront accommodations, round-trip travel, all-inclusive tailgates, and more. Plus appearances from Larry Boa, Charlie Manuel, and NBC Sports Philadelphia's own Ben Davis. Book your trip today at phillysportstrips.com. Back on the Eagle Eye podcast, brought to you by Nissan, Reuben Frank, and Dave Zangaro. Rube, before the break, I think I said count down. I don't know if these are in any particular order, are they?
Not yet. They probably will be by tomorrow, but
okay.
in alphabetical order.
That's fun. Well, yeah, let's go through them in alphabetical order, and maybe we can workshop the order for you before you have to post that on Friday morning.
Yeah, I like that idea.
Okay.
We could count it down from Z to A just to kind of add some drama.
Some drama to the alphabet. People won't know what letters are coming up next.
All right, so I'll do it alphabetically and start with and there's a guy that I had mixed feelings about, but I do think he belongs on the list. It's Reed Blankenship. I just think he was a lot better the last 2 years. I think he came back to earth, which sometimes you see with these undrafted guys, high effort guy. We just didn't see the plays. I thought he played better the last month or so, but overall, I don't think it was a great year for Reed. And in a contract year.
In general, I agree with that, but I also agree with the notion that he got better throughout this season. And part of me wonders how much that had to do with playing next to a really green rookie early in the season and Drew Makuba, who was so up and down. It seems like once Makuba found some stability and then once Epps was in there next to him, it seemed like Reed played better. I don't know if that's the reasoning behind it, but that was kind of my take on it.
Yeah, that's certainly possible. But the production just wasn't where we've seen it in past years with Reed. So he's at the top of the list.
Yeah, he's a free agent, so we'll see if he ends up back. If he's back on the team this year, do you expect a better season? I'm going to ask you this with a lot of these guys, because if there were disappointments in 2025, I want to know if we can expect better from them in 2026.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen him play at a high level for a couple of years as a starter the last 2 years. So I would say yes.
Okay.
Next on the list is A.J. Brown for multiple reasons. Certainly the game that's freshest in our minds is part of it. Just the drama, the constant drama, the social media stuff, the hinting at this, hinting at that, biblical verses. I just don't think he helped the team in the way he could have. And I don't think the production issues were all his fault. Certainly the play caller and some of Jalen's issues at certain points, but this is not the player that we expect to see with AJ.
Yeah. I think the most disappointing thing for me with AJ is that he let his frustration hurt his play on the field. And that's disappointing to me, because it's one thing to be disappointed and to be frustrated. And I understand, and honestly, his frustrations were warranted. Even when he talked about like he can't slap a Band-Aid over it, he was right. I mean, he was completely right about the issues this offense had. You just wish he would have been able to overcome some of that frustration to still be his best, and I don't think he was.
Yeah, it's still shocking what happened in that 49ers game. I mean, who was that guy? And you just don't expect to see that. Next on the list.
Wait. The question I'm going to ask you for all these guys.
Okay.
If he's back here in 2026, do you expect a better season?
Well, if he's back here, that means they've gotten some sort of assurances that he's not going to be an issue. Whether that adds up to that, I don't know. But gosh, the talent we saw, 2 1,400-yard seasons, there's no reason to think he can't be a much better player than he was this year.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. And then we go to Grant, who he's never been a blocker, but last year Grant Calcaterra. At least last year he made a bunch of catches down the field. Last year he had 12 catches of 10 yards or more. This year he had 1. And then if you're not much of a blocker and you're not producing, he played a lot of snaps. He played over 300 snaps this year. And, they count on him being the backup to Dallas, and he just wasn't very good at it.
Yeah, I mean, so Goddard missed more time in 2024, so Calcaterra had more opportunities to be a pass catcher that season than he did in 2025. My disappointment with Grant isn't Grant. It's more in the coaching staff that they keep asking him to block when he's not good at it.
Yeah. I mean, he is what he is, and he's never been a blocker. I think they've really kind of ignored this position, and they've had chances to upgrade, and they just haven't done it. I mean, he shouldn't be tight end too. He just shouldn't be. And none of them are under contract for next year, so they don't have any tight ends under contract.
Yeah. So Grant is a free agent. if he's back here in 2026, which seems unlikely, but you never know, do you expect anything better from him?
I would say no. I don't really have any reason to.
Yeah, I don't think they would bring him back to be the number one. And if he's the number two, they're going to continue to ask him to be a blocker, and it's just not his strength.
No, he's really bad at it. Next on the list is Jalen Carter. And, I get that injuries were a part of his season, and he missed that time with he got that procedure done on his shoulders. But starting out with the spitting deal with Dallas and Dak, and then, Vic having to point out to us that he wasn't in shape in the kind of fitness that he could have been to produce. And then just a general lack of production when he was out there. And there were times where you could see the all-pro player he was a year before, but after what he did in 2024, I thought it was a pretty disappointing performance by him. All things
the most disappointing element to me was that he wasn't in shape.
Yeah.
Especially this was a year where he has a chance to like cash in, make life-changing money, and that was more disappointing. The injury, that was unfortunate, and I do give him a ton of credit for trying to play through it for as long as he did. He was clearly not healthy. He couldn't do the things he normally does, and he was trying to play through it. I give him credit for that, but the being out of shape part, didn't love that.
No excuse for that.
Yeah, I think we both probably agree that next year he'll be much better.
Yes, I would agree with that. Next on the list is Landon Dickerson, who, again, injuries were a big part of it. But, if you're out there and you're playing, and we know he was banged up, he's always going to be banged up, but he just wasn't the player that we're used to seeing the last couple of years.
Yeah, and that I do think it was injury related, but that's kind of who he is at this point. And I think the big fear here is that he's never going to be back to that peak again.
Yeah, and he's so good when he's able to be. But I think when you are out there playing, the expectations are a certain level with a guy like that, and he just wasn't at that level.
Yeah, and he'd admit that.
Yeah, he's probably getting 9 surgeries this offseason.
Most likely.
Training.
What do you think? Do you think he gets back to a better level next year, or are you concerned about that?
I think I'm concerned about him long term. Just because it's been everything. It's been ankles and knees and shoulders, and he just can't. I mean, that was the knock on him when they drafted him, was he wouldn't be able to stay healthy.
Yeah. But it's funny because like the injuries he had in college were like serious season-ending injuries. He hasn't had those, knock on wood, in the NFL, but they've been like lingering things.
Yeah, I wish I could say I'm confident he'll bounce back, but I'm not.
Okay.
How about you?
Yeah, not totally confident.
Next on the list is Jake Elliott, the kicker. Just can't miss that many field goals and extra points. Just can't.
Yeah, I don't have much to say about Jake. He can't miss those kicks.
I mean, 50-yarders are now like a 75% kick in the NFL, and he's 5 for 15 the last 2 years from 50 and out. I have Jalen Hurts next on the list. And I don't think he was terrible. At times he was very good, but my expectation of Jalen is to play at a Pro Bowl level, at an elite level. And we just didn't see that enough this year. And I thought he was mediocre in some games they won. I mean, his only really, really bad game was the Chargers game. That was the only game he was terrible. And in all the other games, he was anywhere from mediocre to very good. But I think the mediocre games kind of really started to outnumber the very good games. And I also throw in this judgment, just his not running the way he should. And whether that's coming from the coaching staff or something he's decided he doesn't want to do anymore, he's not the player he can be when he doesn't run. And that's part of my disappointment.
Yeah, and halfway through the year, we're looking at his season going, hey, he has a pretty good year. And then it kind of tailed off. What do you expect from him in 2026?
Well, I mean, a big part of that is who's going to be coaching him.
Mm-hmm.
I think just having a new coach, you would hope if they hire the right guy, it's going to help him get back to where he should be. I mean, he's not that far off. And you're right. After through I guess maybe the bye week, I thought he's playing really well. So it's there, and with the right coach, I expect him to get back there. Yes, I would say yes. Next on the list is another offensive lineman, Cam Jurgens. Kind of similar to Landon, although I think I'm a little more concerned with Cam. I mean, it's not like a bunch of injuries. He just had the back procedure, made a Pro Bowl somehow. I just didn't think he played very well at all this year. And I am concerned about what we see from Cam in the future because, I mean, to me, a back injury is a serious injury, but it's one thing. Like Landon's got all these different things he's got to deal with. And I thought by the second half of the year, it had been quite a while since his back surgery, and he should have been playing better, and he didn't. He did not look like the same guy.
Yeah, when he got off to a rough start, I think the hope was that the farther removed he gets from that surgery, the better he'll look, and that really didn't happen.
Yeah, your confidence he can get back to where he was the last couple of years?
Not super high. I'm concerned about that, and it's one of the biggest concerns I think we're going to have about this team going into next year.
Yeah, no doubt. Next on the list, I have Keely Ringo, and the only reason I really have him on there is because he had opportunities to win that job. They gave him the job, and he couldn't keep it. Not only could he not keep it, when he got other opportunities, he was just as bad. Good special teamer. You can't carry him just for that. I mean, if you have a backup corner playing special teams, he better be able to go in a corner and hold his own. And Keely couldn't do that. So I really expected more from him from his career, and just never happened.
Yeah, the Eagles did too. They traded away a future 3 when they drafted him in the 4th round, and they were hoping he would develop into that guy, and it just didn't happen.
No, and it's not going to happen at this point. He's still a young guy, but just don't see it.
Neither do I.
Last one, the 10th one, is Nolan Smith, who I had pretty high expectations of the way last year finished with his postseason performance.
Sure. He had 10 sacks over his last 16 games last year?
Exactly, yeah, 10 sacks in his last 16 games. He was so good down the stretch. Now, he's another one who missed time with an injury. But even when he came back, he still only had 3 sacks all year. He had more sacks in the postseason last year than the regular season this year. I just expected more from him. I thought it was going to be a big breakthrough, like double-digit sack season for him.
Yeah. A little disappointed in his season, but he was still a good player when he was out there, even when he wasn't getting all the production. He sets the edge really well. He plays with effort. So I agree that disappointing when you're thinking he's going to have this double-digit sack season, but I still thought he was a good player when he was out there.
Yeah, and he plays the run very physically. But when you draft an edge in the first round, you expect more than 3 sacks in his 3rd year.
Sure.
So that's the list. Who would you put number 1?
There's 3 guys at the top of my mind. The 2 offensive linemen and A.J. Brown, to me, are probably the 3 most disappointing. I don't know which order you go in there. A.J. still had a 1,000-yard season. So it's tough for me to put him 1. So I'd probably go either Cam Jurgens or Landon Dickerson at 1.
I think AJ's going to be number 1 on my list.
Okay.
1,000 yards or not. Because
it's tough for me because he was good this year.
Yeah.
He was a good player.
Yeah. At times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas I don't think Cam was ever very good this year.
Based on prior career, you can make a case for Jake Elliott, but I'm not going to put him at the top of the list.
Yeah. You don't want to put the kicker up there.
No. And if it's based on expectations, Nolan would probably have to be pretty high for me. Nolan and Cam. So, yeah. Okay.
All right. We'll work on that order. You can read that on NBC Sports Philadelphia.com. Let's get to some emails. eagleeyednbcuni.com. The QR code is on the screen. First one is from Pete. Reuben Dave, do you think that some coaches don't want to take the Eagles OC job because they will be expected to produce in the first season since the Eagles have so much talent and a proven record?
Well, I think that would be a reason that you'd want to come here. You want to go to somewhere that's got a bunch of talent. So, no.
Well, I think it's more speaking to the pressure of this job.
But again, I think if you're in this business and you want to be an offensive coordinator, there's going to be pressure wherever you are. You may as well go somewhere that has talent that's going to give you a chance to succeed. If I'm a candidate, I'm looking at the talent they have here, which may not be, depending on those O-linemen we talked about, whether AJ's here, might not be as much as we thought.
And Lane.
And Lane and Dallas. But yeah, I think I don't think most candidates think about jobs like that. Like there's too much talent there, so it'll be too much pressure. I don't want that job. I think you want to go somewhere where you're going to have a chance to win. And look, you're going to be coaching on a playoff team that probably has a shot at going to a Super Bowl. So I think a lot of candidates would want that.
You would think. Here we are. just waiting. Next one is from Marlon. Hey, Dave and Rube, big fan of the pod. I listen religiously every time you guys put one out. Question/thought. Are we missing out on good candidates because Nick Sirianni is the head coach? At what point do Mr. Lurie and Howie consider making a big move like that? I would love to hear your thoughts.
Like firing the head coach a year after winning a Super Bowl? No, not going to happen.
Yeah. And obviously, like, it can't happen now. You don't like bring him back, go through the press conference, start an offensive coordinator search, and then pivot. Like, who are you going to hire at this point? Yeah. So you're
not going to fire the head coach because Jim Bob Cooter said he doesn't want to work with Nick or whoever it is. That's not going to happen.
Yeah. Now, like long term, if they fail at this offensive coordinator search, could it lead to Nick getting fired? Like, yeah, because if they fail at this offensive coordinator search, the offense isn't as good, the team isn't as good, they don't go as far, and Nick gets fired. Like, I think there's a path to that, but not immediately.
No.
Next one from Matt. Good afternoon, gents. I hope all is well. I have a question for you both. Why isn't Jamal Singleton a prime candidate for offensive coordinator? He's assistant head coach and running backs coach, I believe. I understand wanting outside perspective, but getting the Senior Bowl OC job is at least compelling, right? Thanks for the pod. Hopefully the snow Saturday doesn't hurt your backs too much. I know mine is feeling it from this snow in Frederick, Maryland. Yeah, so Jamal Singleton is the national team offensive coordinator for head coach Clint Hurt.
Yeah, I don't have a specific answer why he wouldn't be in consideration. Out of all the offensive coaches, I think he might make the most sense at this point. But yeah, I don't know why he wouldn't be in the mix. Yeah. I think it would be cool if they did interview him.
Yeah, I mean, look, he couldn't save him when after what happened with an internal promotion, you're not going to do it again. This guy was here on the staff of an offense that severely I think he's a good coach, and maybe one day he'll be an offensive coordinator. But honestly, it's like also running backs coaches, like it's typically not where coordinators come from. We saw that for years with Deuce Staley. Eric Bieniemy was able to break through and become an OC, but he hasn't gotten farther than that. Like it seems like there's for whatever reason, it's where they stop.
Yeah, probably because everybody wants the latest passing game guru. They all want to enhance their passing game, and running backs coaches don't do that.
Want to do a couple more?
Yeah.
Next one is from John. What's the future of the tight end position? Dallas Goedert had a clean year in terms of health, and not to mention setting a few team records. Grant Calcaterra is good for one amazing catch a year and 58 blown blocks. Anything beyond that is non-existent. What do the Eagles do? Who would be a draft target? Do they re-sign Dallas Goedert? Can we finally move on from Calcaterra? How does Cameron Latu fit in this scenario? There are numerous teams these days who are utilizing two tight end sets with good success, so I think this is a must to help both the passing game and Saquon.
Yeah, I like having two good tight ends. I think the teams that have two good tight ends are usually pretty dangerous and have good offenses. They don't have one under contract. That's scary. It's been a while since they drafted one. Calcaterra was a late-round pick.
We talked about this. Howie just hasn't drafted many tight ends in general.
No, he hasn't. So yeah, it's a concern. And I think obviously with the year Dallas had, I think he's at an age where I don't think his value is going to be super high in the free agent market. I think he loves it here. I think they like him. There's no reason not to. He's a great team guy. He's a leader. Jalen loves him. So if they can make the money make sense, which I think they should be able to do, I think he would be back. But then you still got to find somebody else because you don't want to bring Calcaterra back as your 2.
Yeah, and I think it's time to draft one. I don't know if it has to be the first round, but like use a significant draft pick on a tight end. It's time, right? Like it's been long enough. I remember a few years ago, I already talked about at that point, Goddard was older than Ertz when they drafted Goddard, and now he's way older. It feels like they've just kind of let this go too long. I feel like they've already should have had the replacement for Goddard in-house.
Yeah, I would agree. Is Ertz going to be back in Washington?
That's going to be your answer? Go get Zach Ertz?
How's his rehab going?
I don't know.
He can still play, and he only needs like 11 catches.
That's all you care about is that
record.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what it is. You want that record.
I do. Okay. But no, I don't know. I think a veteran like that would make some sense. Maybe not him, but I haven't really looked at free agent tight ends or the draft yet from that standpoint. But I think you got to have 2, and I think it would behoove them to have Dallas back and someone else.
The big name in the draft is going to be Kenyon Sadiq from Oregon. He's probably if there's a first round tight end, it's going to be him. The Eagles haven't drafted a tight end in the first round since '88. It's been a really long time. Keith Jackson, right?
Keith Jackson, 13th pick overall.
Yeah, that's the last time they've drafted a tight end in the first round. So
he still has the record for, I guess McBride might have broken it this year. Most catches by a rookie tight end. I guess McBride he had over 100. But yeah, I think it's time. Maybe not the first round, but in the first 3 rounds, I would seriously consider it.
I think it's time for that. We'll do one more and then we'll call it a day. This one is from a different John. Hey guys, thanks for all you do. Every time I listen, you make my heart beat faster. Here's my question. Let's say you make a 5-part parlay today about next season's opening day starting lineup. Who are the 5 Eagles in the defensive secondary? Non-roster TBA and draft pick TBA are acceptable answers. Also, do you think Sidney Brown has a chance of being a starter elsewhere in the league after his rookie contract ends? Want to answer the Sidney one first?
Yeah, I would say no.
I would say it's unlikely, but maybe in a different scheme. Remember, like he was drafted with a different defense in mind, so maybe seems unlikely.
Yeah, I just don't see it. That's a good question as far as the other spots. We know the slot. We know one outside corner. I think Makuba will be one of the safeties, and I think
so. That's 3 of 5 already.
And I think Adoree Jackson should at least have the opportunity to compete for, depending what they do in the draft and who they bring in, should have the opportunity to compete for a job because I thought he was pretty good down the stretch after some really shaky times first half of the year and in camp. So I think he's probably most likely, although obviously if they draft a corner second round, that guy's going to be your starter.
Yeah. How about the other safety spot?
It's a good question. I don't think it'll be Reed. I think if they were going to re-sign Reed, they probably would have done it by now. And if money is the reason they didn't, I don't think they're going to be like second guessing where they are on money with him.
I think there's a chance Reed comes back. At this point, yes. I think it would be, hey, go see what's out there for you, and then let us know. Like, go test your market. You've never gotten an opportunity to test your value on the open market. See what's out there, and maybe there's a chance the team signs him for big money and he leaves. But I think they'd want to have the opportunity to match.
Could be. I'm not sure he's going to get a big offer if he's expecting one, but I've been wrong before.
Yeah. But I understand like wanting to find out. He's a guy who was undrafted, got paid really nothing. They paid him he technically got an extension, but that was just to get him to this point to where he'd be a free agent. So this is his first chance to explore the market and see if he can make some more money.
Would you be okay running it back with Reed?
Sure. Yeah. You?
Yeah, I think so.
I would be. he offers you some stability. I think Makuba's going to get better. I think that'd be a good outcome.
Yeah.
And then if you can't sign Reed, I'd even be interested in Marcus Epps.
Yeah. What about outside corner too? What's your?
I think that is non-roster TBA.
Yeah,
if I had to guess right now,
I do think there's a good chance of that, but I could see them having Adoree compete for that job in the summer.
Maybe
obviously, if they sign a big money corner, that's not going to be the case.
I don't think it would be a big money corner, but I think it would be somewhere between that and Adoree.
And there's some room there.
Yeah, I think so. All right. If you have a question for us, eagleeye@nbcuni.com. If you enjoy the Eagle Eye podcast, please do us a favor, rate and subscribe wherever you get your pods. If you're watching on YouTube, click the like button and subscribe there as well. Rube, any final words today?
Well, I know I just wanted to take a moment to talk about Dan McQuade, who passed away. I know you were friends with him. A lot of people in the Philadelphia newspaper and sports community were. Great guy. Too young. He's 43. One of those guys who really got Philadelphia, and it came through in his writing. He really understood what makes the city tick and what makes like Philly sports fans tick. He had such a great feel for that in his writing. So just wish peace to his friends and family. Big loss.
Yeah, absolutely. The last time I talked to Dan, he messaged me about the viral clip from MetLife, which is such a Dan thing to care about, like the funny Philly viral moment. But definitely rest in peace to Dan. One of a kind for sure.
Yeah.
All right. For Reuben Frank, I'm Dave Zangaro. This has been Eagle Eye, presented by Nissan. We'll talk to you soon.